before the event starts, just to make sure she can get back, so it can be on our 6 o'clock?
Yep. So we've got something at 4:30.
Okay.
And then it kind of morphs into the event at 5:15.
So what time
Perfect.
does she want to do it?
How soon can you do it?
We could do it right after this, if that works.
Yeah, I'll ask her, because I think they kind of, well, yeah, maybe that would work. Then you can just talk about the event. I guess they
Yeah.
wanted the background to look a little different, that, so it wasn't the same as here, like at the studio, wanted to look like it was at the event or something. But
She comes out. I mean, as soon as she comes out, I can give her my number. She can.
Perfect.
She gets there, and I'll make it happen.
that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll let her know. What? Oh, we're rolling. Okay, so whenever we're ready. All right. Perfect. All right. Do I need a no countdown or anything? I guess, yeah, it's not live, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, sorry. I promise I've done this a million times. But. All right, well, Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for being here today.
thank you.
We appreciate it. And today we just kind of want to talk about some issues that, maybe range closer for us here in southern Minnesota. And so we're asking the candidates all the same questions. So the first one we'd like to ask is, why do you want to be governor of Minnesota?
I just see an arrogance, frankly, right now in state government, particularly in some of our state agencies, the DNR, the MPCA, the Department of Commerce, where there's this belief that, amongst some in these agencies, where their job is to tell everybody else how to farm their land or how to run their business or how to raise their kids and, frankly, how to live their lives. And I am running to change that culture in state government so that everybody who's working for state government understands their sole purpose is to serve people, not to try to control them. And I recognize that is not an easy task, but we got to get started on it.
All right. Now, as I mentioned before, obviously here in Mankato, we're the southern part of the state. So what is something that you can do specifically for this southern region, and something to make that a priority for you?
Yep, absolutely. And I think it goes back to what I just talked about. When I talk to farmers, for example, whether they're in southern Minnesota or elsewhere in Minnesota, there's a real frustration right now in particular with the MPCA, with the buffer strip law, with ditch mowing issues, with the nitrate rule, and I could go right on down that list. Not always a complaint that the policy is wrong, but a complaint that decisions are being made without really any meaningful input from the people who are being regulated. And that is part of this culture change, where if we have a concern about water quality, and every farmer I know has a concern about water quality just as much as anybody else, so let's include them in the decision making, not with just some public meeting or two where you let them spout off and then no one ever listens to them, but actually include them in the solution. And I think that's a statewide issue, but I think it certainly would affect southern Minnesota.
Absolutely. And I know you've touched on a lot of issues that you want to talk about, but if you had to pick one that would maybe be your main issue or your number one issue, what would that be?
For me, it would be putting more money into people's pockets. So Minnesota takes too much money from both people and businesses, especially small businesses. Our income tax, the top rate is way out of whack, but the bottom rate, our bottom tier, is higher than the highest tier in 23 other states. So we're not just taxing to death the CEO in Minnesota, we're taxing to death every school teacher and mechanic and bartender and daycare worker and struggling small business owner. And so for me, the top priority, other than backing government off of telling us what to do, is to make sure people get to keep more of what they earn to spend on their own families.
All right. And so I guess that would kind of lead into the next question then. Day one of Governor Johnson's term, what do you do?
The first thing I'll do is try to reverse the damage that Governor Dayton did with his veto of this tax bill. I mean, essentially, there was pretty broad agreement on what needed to be done so that we could conform with all the changes that were made at the federal level. And what happened at the federal government is the intent was for a tax cut for most Minnesotans, not just rich ones, but most Minnesotans. And because that bill was vetoed, a lot of Minnesotans are actually going to see a tax increase now. And even worse, it's just going to be a nightmare with respect to filing, because we've got two completely different systems. So day one, not as governor, but literally day one after the election, when I am governor-elect, I'm going to start working with Democrats and Republicans so that on day one of the legislative session, we can try to fix that. Hopefully it won't be too late.
All right. Okay. And I guess if you had to talk directly to the people of southern Minnesota, why should they vote for you versus the other candidates that are out there?
Well, right now I'm in the middle of a primary with Tim Pawlenty, and I think as I travel around the state, and I have been now for over a year, almost 15 months, what I am hearing from Minnesotans is they want significant change. They don't want to tinker around the edges. They're not looking for more of the same, business as usual, which I think my primary opponent represents. They're looking for somebody who's going to go in, who's going to clean house in our state agencies and actually make sure that there's an understanding that their job is to serve people. And if that's what you're looking for, as opposed to just kind of continuing to do the same thing with a different party label on it, then I think I'm the candidate to pick.
Okay, and now you talked about, the primary and your primary opponent. Talk about that focus then between now and August 14th. How do you let people know that, okay, you're fighting against your own party, but yet how do you differentiate yourself from your other primary opponent?
So I will continue to travel around the state. We've been literally getting out every single day. We're meeting thousands of voters face to face every week so that I can look them in the eye and tell them what we're going to do to change Minnesota. Tim is not doing that. He's largely staying at home and raising money and going up on TV with I would argue, a pretty dishonest, negative set of ads. I don't think that is the path forward. And the biggest difference between Tim Pawlenty and Jeff Johnson, I'm going to bring fundamental change, and he is not. The other difference is, for Republican voters, I think I'm a much stronger candidate in November than Tim will be, because I'm able to focus on the future, talk about my vision for where Minnesota needs to go. And I fear that if Tim is the candidate, based on all the baggage we have, that election will be about the past and about his 8 years as governor or his time as a DC lobbyist. I don't think we win that race, and we have to win this race.
That's an interesting point, because talk about the advantages too that you have for being the endorsed candidate.
Yeah, so I was endorsed along with Donna Bergstrom from Duluth, who's my running mate, and that endorsement by the party actually means a lot from the standpoint of we have a network now in every single county in the state of Minnesota of leaders who are on the ground working for us. And there's some people who kind of poo-poo the endorsement. I know Tim does. He says, well, it's just a few thousand people who have an outsized influence. But these are the most engaged Republicans in the state of Minnesota, and they literally took a year to vet each one of us as candidates up close and personal, ask us a lot of really tough questions, and get answers from us. And based on that, they picked who they thought would be the strongest candidate, and we came out with that. And I think having that endorsement and having that network throughout the state, that's what's going to win it for us in about 4 weeks.
Okay, and now I know you don't want to look past primary day too much, but looking forward to when you do face the Democrats, why, again, should people prefer you if you're an independent or somebody who, just is kind of sick and tired of the party politics?
Yep.
Why you versus whatever Democrat that might be?
Well, whichever of the three Democrats come out of it, I can tell you that it'll be pretty crystal clear choice. If you are looking to keep more of what you earn, to spend on your own family, and if you are looking for less government, less bureaucracy in your life, and someone who's willing to allow you to make your own decisions about what's best for your family or your business, then I'm going to be the candidate over any of the Democrats.
All right. I don't think I have any other questions for you. Is there anything else so that you'd like to say or add?
All I would say is early voting has already started in the primary, and I really encourage people to do that because it's easy to forget on August 14th that it's primary day. And we're running a very grassroots campaign. So johnsonforgovernor.org is the website, and if you're interested in helping in any way, just click on the button and we'll put you to work.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. That always goes by